Hey guys, welcome back. I know it's been a minute. So the other day I did a mock interview for somebody who was applying the residency, and the question came up, or the thing that I noticed most, the piece of information that I was able to help him with the most was, let me tell you about it. So, um, you know, there's so many questions that they ask when you interview, um, the number one question being, um, what are they actually looking for in the interview? They're looking for you to be able to articulate, and that means you can't say the word You got to get it out of your vocabulary. It's so annoying. Just pause when you're thinking. You just pause, just like I'm doing right now. You breathe and you think about the next thing that you're going to say. What am I going to say next? I'm going to list the interview questions that I've gotten the most. The first question that I get when I did an interview is, tell me about yourself. Let me take a step back. I even stuttered, but I didn't say I just paused, or I just repeated the word and fixed my pronunciation. It's that simple. You have to think about it consciously in the beginning, and then after that it becomes habitual. Okay, so for me, I did what? 8 interviews for orthopedic surgery, didn't match. Then came the soap. 8 interviews, didn't get a single offer from the places that interviewed me in the soap. What did that tell me? That my interview skills were trash. Got a single blind offer from a place that I didn't even interview at. And then, of course, I transferred to surgery at UW. I had to do an interview for that program. And then I reapplied to the match. Again, maybe I'm slowing down, but I'm not saying So I reapplied to the match. I got interviews in orthopedics. I got interviews in radiology. I decided to rank radiology higher at the end. Ended up getting about 19 interviews between the two of them. So, and let me also tell you that in my 4th year of med school, I did mock interviews before I actually interviewed in orthopedics, and I got feedback that I improved on, but I was so bad that even with that feedback, I still wasn't good enough. And then when I reapplied to the match the second time, I did mock interviews with radiologists, and I did back-to-back mock interviews. I mean, I probably did like 5 or 6. And then obviously I interviewed all these interviews in the actual match, and I scheduled the lesser desirable programs, the programs that I didn't want to go to as much in the beginning. So that's obviously subjective based on what you actually want. So the first, the most common question that I would get when I would interview starts off, tell me about yourself. And I always had an elevator pitch depending on where I was interviewing. When I interviewed at UC Denver, my hobbies were skiing, kayaking, hiking. When I interviewed at the Florida schools, if it was Gainesville, I talked about Lake Wahlberg, how I used to love to kayak and see alligators there, how I love to bike in Paynes Prairie. If I interviewed in South Florida, my hobbies were diving, snorkeling, scuba diving, kayaking, biking. I love the sun. I love the outdoors. I don't mind the rain. If I interviewed in Seattle, I love to go skiing. I love to walk around Alakai Beach. Now, I'm not saying lie. These are all true things. What I am saying is that you have to cater who you are, or highlight the important qualities that are going to make sense for the program that you're applying to. So if you hate the cold, don't be applying to programs up north and telling them that you hate the cold. The other thing is, when they ask you, tell me about yourself, they're not asking you to repeat what's already on your application. That doesn't mean you can't mention some things, but you have to expand on them. So, Cal, thanks for applying. We love to have you. They all said that. Tell me about yourself. Thanks for the opportunity. I'm Cal. I grew up in Panama City, Northwest Florida. I love the ocean. I grew up swimming, snorkeling all the time, kayaking. I love to travel. I've been to Colorado. I've been to California. I lived in Oakland for a year. I love to do stuff outdoors. I have 3 siblings. I have an older brother, an older sister, a younger sister. We grew up close-knit. Family is important to me. The other thing that I value, and what I just paused right now, because why did I pause? Because I lost my train of thought. But I'm not floundering with the thing that's, the thing about no, it's okay to just pause. You look at the screen, you take a little bit, and you say, I went to undergrad at the University of Florida. At that time, I discovered the gym. That's when I lost a ton of weight. I worked at the Department of Recreational Sports. I became super social. I met cool people all the time. I love to meet new people, do new activities, go to restaurants. Later, finally, I decided that I wanted to go to med school, so I did a pre-med post back in Oakland, California. That's when I discovered hiking. That's when I decided that I was going to work as a scribe on Maui. I got to dive and see a sunset all the time. Again, now I just lost my train of thought. Again, I'm pausing. How am I going to tie this into the program that just asked me? Where am I interviewing right now? Temple, Texas. That's one of the programs I interviewed at. Diving, they don't have it. How am I going to relate to this guy that's at Temple, Texas? Hiking, they basically don't have. I grew up in Florida. I loved going to the springs. Oh yeah, you guys got springs there? That's so awesome. I love to tube. I love to just hang out by the spring. I like to swim in the cold water. It's so refreshing. What am I doing? I'm trying to relate. When they say, tell me about yourself, don't say some cookie cutter answer. I went to undergrad. I went to med school. Panama City, Gainesville, Tampa. Residency in Seattle. I'm 34. I'm Egyptian. Okay, I mean, what is that? There's no color. So you gotta be excited. You gotta talk about yourself like who you actually are, the things that you're into. What's behind the question of tell me about yourself? What's behind it is this someone, let's say it's radiology that you're interviewing for. Let's say it's orthopedic surgery that you're interviewing for. Can I handle being in the reading room with this guy 8 to 5, Monday through Friday, 5 days a week? Is this guy someone that's going to be fun to be around during downtime? What about for orthopedic surgery? Is this someone who, when we're in the operating room, we're going to get along? He's going to be fun to be around. She's going to be fun to be around. There's going to be normal conversation. We're going to have something to talk about. We can relate to each other. Or is this guy weird, not someone that gets along with people, not someone I can relate to? What is this super important for? For someone who's unmatched, like myself, right? And if you're unmatched and you're reapplying to the match, this is a huge hurdle that you need to overcome. You have to prove that you're normal, that the reasons that you didn't match were reasons that they're fixable, that you learned from them, quote unquote, and that you actually fixed them. So in my case, I'm going to make another video about this. First, I had these big headphones because I wanted to hear them. One guy made fun of me. You look like a sports broadcaster, dude. What are you doing? Got rid of the headphones. I didn't have a good background. You need to have a solid background that's plain, that doesn't draw attention to things that are distracting from the interview, that doesn't stand out in a bad way. You have to wear a suit with a tie. If you're a girl, I don't know what you're supposed to wear formally, honestly. I always wore, for the virtual interviews, same suit, same tie, every single time because it was prepared, it was there. I was comfortable in that article of clothing. And for my bottoms, I just wore scrub pants because they were super comfortable. I never stood up or anything like that during the interviews, the virtual ones. And I had a go-to thing, and I was barefoot. And I had the same water every time. You need to have lighting. What does that mean? Bright lighting that faces you from behind the camera so it's not causing glare. And in my case, I used 2 lamps. You could get a ring light if you'd like. The other thing that's important is you need to have the camera at eye level so that they're not looking into your nostrils, or that when you open your mouth, they're not looking at your hard palate. Just little tweaks like that. The distance needs to be reasonable so that a little bit above your head shows to kind of like manubrium, upper chest / arms if you're someone who uses a lot of hand motions, but they should be able to see you clearly. And then the other thing, of course, that's so important that some people neglect, I had a redundancy of 2 of them, your internet connection. Okay? So I had a strong internet connection. I talked to my landlord, hey, and I said the truth. I communicated, which is the whole reason about tell me about yourself. And look at this. What am I doing right now? I'm telling you guys about myself. So I told my landlord, hey, I'm reapplying for a bunch of jobs in the next 2 months, and I really need a strong internet connection. Please, can you call the internet service provider, it's Comcast or whatever, and make sure that everything's set, everything's good, everything's all paid up. Can you tell them that internet connection's weak for them to check it? Was the internet connection weak? I don't know, but I just said that. And what happened? She called them and she talked to me, and she said, yeah, I'm going to talk to them, I'm going to tell them, let them know, I'll even upgrade it for you. And then there was like a restaurant downstairs that I was able to like latch onto their internet, so I had like a redundancy. So this is just the first part of a series of questions that I got for interviews and a sample answer that I would give. And I'm going to do another few segments with different questions. But I'll go ahead and tell you right now the questions that I got most often. Tell me about yourself. Why radiology? Why did you get into medical school? Or what made you decide you wanted to be a doctor? Why orthopedics? What are the downsides to orthopedics? What are the downsides to radiology? Tell me about research project X, Y, and Z. And your answer to that has to be, what did you do, your role, who came up with the idea, what you learned from it, and you have to be excited. What drew you to our program? You have to have a good answer for that. The other question that I got is, what questions do you have for us? If you don't have like 6, 7 questions that are unique to the program and to the person that you're talking to, it's going to look bad. Here's some questions I asked. What do you like to do for fun? Right? Because these are human beings. They're not defined by their specialty. How did you end up, or what brought you to Harvard or Yale or wherever program I'm interviewing at? I didn't interview at those programs, but I'm giving you examples. How did you end up? Where did you grow up, or how did you end up in this region? I rarely ask questions like, what's a research topic that interests you, or where do you focus your clinical practice? Because you want to have a fun conversation with these people. And unless they're asking you the serious questions, you don't want to be asking them the serious question and putting them on the spot where they're presenting to you. Never ask, what are the downsides to your program? How could you ask that? Like, what are you even thinking? Are you ACGME right now? You're trying to make this person feel important. Never ask, what improvements have you made in the program? Never ask, where do you see the program headed in the next 2 years? No. Instead, if you want to ask something, if you're talking to the program director, the APD, or somebody who's invested in the leadership of the program, or an attending who's been there for years and years, what are you most proud of the program? Make it positive. Every question, every answer, it has to be positive. Nothing negative. Why didn't you match? Thank God I didn't match. It led me to radiology, my most favorite specialty. It's the best thing that ever happened to me. I learned so much from it. I grew so much from it. I'm so thankful. It gave me the best of both worlds. I can do IR, I can do DR, I can do procedures, but I don't have to be a surgeon. I don't care if you believe it or not. You have to be positive. You have to be smiling. Why are you interviewing at our program in the Midwest, in the middle of nowhere? I love to be in the middle of nowhere. That's my favorite thing in the whole world, to be in the middle of nowhere. I could just study, no distractions. I could work on my research project. I could focus on being a great resident. I have time to call my family. The middle of nowhere is the best place to be. You have to be positive all the time. Like, subscribe, email me if you need help. I'm happy to help.